Hey everyone, it's Platty. Today we are doing something a little bit different. We are making a new map, but this time I will model it after the Summoner's Rift map from League of Legends. I had a look at Summoner's Rift and I figured it would be pretty easy to make it into a City Skylines map. This one did take a little bit more time than I anticipated, so I tried to make the video as condensed as possible. I will put it on the Steam Workshop as well, so you can use it as a real city, and do let me know what you think and enjoy the video. So Summoner's Rift is a square map, and I think we should start off with trying to get this square as straight as possible. So the way I'm going to be doing that is by, I think, building these roads as a way to kind of make it easier to terraform. So let's say that about that is this. So I'm just gonna go with the absolute lowest terrain height, and I'm just gonna make everything the absolute bottom height. So I'm gonna grab this terrain height and add it a little bit higher, maybe 90 or so. See what that looks like. So that's the base. And then I think about here should be the Nexus area. So let's actually build that. And we're gonna take approximately half of the height of the Nexus. Of the base itself, I mean. And maybe I should use roads for this as well, actually. And I'm just gonna be grabbing it like this, so I can copy it and use it on the other side as well, so we can have something that's as even as possible. And I feel pretty good about this. I'm really just eyeballing this. Maybe I'm looking at the top part of the... I want this like triangle here to kind of have the same angles coming off of the lines up here. And this seems about right to me. Yep, there we go. And then I'm using these roads as guidelines for the Nexus part. And I should be selecting it and making it match terrain height. That looks right to me. Let's do the same thing over here. So every Nexus has 3 entrances. One at the top, one at the bottom, and one in the middle. And the middle part is exactly here. And the one at the bottom. And I'm gonna be doing the same on the other side. And because it seems like it's a bit of a staircase, I'm going to be sloping it. And I'm also gonna use the sloping tool on the actual base. What I'm doing here is creating a road, and I'm just gonna be adding a bridge all the way to the edge of the map to make it at least usable as a city. And I'm gonna be doing the same on the other side. So now it's time to create the lanes and the jungle. It doesn't seem like there are any height differences between the lanes and the jungle, but there is a height difference between the river and the lanes. So I will actually work on that first. And as you can see, the middle lane will be easiest to make. So again, I'm gonna be using roads to use these as guidelines. And I want this to be down on the ground, like so. And that seems pretty good to me. Somewhat straight. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I think I think that you won't actually notice it when the map is fully done. So this is a width of about, let's say, this is 10, I believe. So this is 20, 30, 40, about 42, I would say. So let's make it about here. This is gonna be toppling. And let's use these guides to create the river. Here I am holding down Shift while using the Move It selection tool to group all the roads in the top lane together to copy it for the bot lane. And now that we have these lanes all laid out, we can use them as a guide for where the jungle and the rivers are going to be. And the river is about the same width as the lane, so I'm just going to use approximately this brush size to get the river in. The river starts at the meeting point of the top lane, and then it goes down a little bit to make room for the Baron pit, meets in the middle of the middle lane, and then the bottom river kind of does the opposite to make room for the dragon pit. I want to make it a bit smaller. So there needs to be room for the rock formation here, and as well as a little bit here. This rock goes like that, then there's a little opening here, a little bit of rock there, another opening here. Something like that. I put these mountains here to remind myself of what I was thinking when I was terraforming it. I am changing the shape of this sort of shoreline a little bit, but it was kind of hard to tell what belongs where, so it helped to just put some preliminary mountains in as a reminder. And I'm gonna do the same on the other sides. I'm very curious what it's gonna look like when I put water in, so I'm gonna give that a try now. And I'll just put it right in the middle. I'm gonna unpause and we can take a look what happens. This looks amazing. It actually I'm quite proud of the way it looks. I feel like it kind of does look like the river it is. So you've got the little tri brush here, and so there's 3 brushes in this river actually. There's one up here, there's a little, I think it's called the pixel brush right there, and then there are some more brushes down here. So I think I'm just gonna be adding forests to mimic the brushes, but that does mean that I need to make this slope start a little bit earlier, so about down here, so this can still be forested. So I will do that now. I will do the same for the top lane as well as the pixel brush, and then we will jump into terraforming the jungle. So I want to measure this out to be approximately 30, I think. So about there. I'm gonna leave the end as a reminder to myself. So this will be where the rock starts in the jungle. So let's continue with this side of the river. I'm gonna be doing the same thing by first pulling out this part just a little bit and then sloping it out. And go to the bottom lane in this case and do something similar. And I'm actually noticing that the bottom lane is pretty far back, where it slopes anyway. So I'm pulling this back just a fair bit, something like so. And I'm using the slope tool again. This took such a long time. I ended up just showing the blue side jungle terraformed, as red would be kind of similar anyway, but I am super pleased with the way this looks. I'm still going back in now to perfect the slopes of the mountains as well as the look. I want the dragon and barren pit to look sharp and spiky, so I will be sorting that out now as well. The Baron and the Dragon Pits need to look kind of scary, so I'm really trying to get that mountain stick out on the side of it. I'm deleting all the roads so I can start fixing up the mountains and the lanes. I'm using this part of the mountain to add some trees, so I can just copy this with the Move It tool and paste it all over the jungle. Here I am copying the little patch of forest all over the jungle, and I'm paying special attention to the areas where brushes are in the actual Summoner's Rift map, so I can add some more trees there as well. I'm adding some rocks for detailing. And of course, if I want this to be a usable city, it does need some natural resources, and I thought it would be the funniest thing to add farming to the middle of the lanes. I'm using the castle walls as well as for the lane. I'm deleting the portions on the entryways to the jungle and using Move It to line everything up well, and I'm also using Move It to correct all the walls to the same height. These castle walls have these half and almost fully down walls that look kind of broken down, and I figured it would be great to add these to curve into the mountain on the top lane and the bottom lane. I'm using the Union Nodes tool here to make sure that the curve is exactly correct and the walls are still attached to one another. I'm pulling the walls all the way into the base as well, and I will be adding them to the far side of the base later. Initially, I wanted to add the castle walls to create the alcove, but I feel it's more consistent to terraform it, so that's what I ended up doing here. Initially, I didn't really add them in very straight, so it looks a little bit wonky now, but I do go back in later to fix it. I did decide to use the castle walls here to define the alcove, and that was actually harder than I anticipated. I think everything just looks a little bit too wonky, but at this point I have been building this map for way too long, so I was getting frustrated and I figured I would just leave it this way. Finally, I can start doing the very last bit of detailing. Here I am adding some extra mountain parts to the alcove. Alright everyone, this is the final result. Let me show you through the map. So to make a map functional, you need to add a couple of connections. So of course I added a road connection, I had to add a rail connection as well, and of course I added a plane connection down there on this end, and I added a boat connection on this end. So it is an entirely functional city. So you can definitely play in this city and it should be perfectly fine to use and build and make a beautiful city. I think the base is kind of empty. Obviously I would have wished to have something that looks a little bit more like a Nexus and something that looks a little bit more like, you know, the size of the towers that are in the actual Summoner's Rift map. Unfortunately, there's just nothing that I felt like fit pretty well in the base. So this will have to do. I do like the way this looks. I tried to add some different sort of terrain here, but I don't like the skin this like sort of map has. It looks weird and the pattern is a bit too predictable, so I don't actually think it looks very realistic. So I ended up not doing that. So let's take you through a journey.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn.
As always, thank you so much for watching all the way through. I'm super curious to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments, and I would love to see someone attempt to build in my Summoner's Rift map. See you next time!